To set the tone here, I think Thomas Dekker captured it perfectly. Sleep is the golden chain that ties health and our bodies together. We know this from the after effects of not getting enough sleep. It is crucial for both physical and mental health. We know this. And during sleep, the body has time to repair and regenerate cells, consolidate memories, and process emotions. And a lack of sleep can lead to a range of problems, including decreased immunity, decreased cognitive performance, and increased risk of chronic diseases like obesity, diabetes, and depression. Yes, there is a very powerful link. And joining us this morning to talk about that on World Sleep Day and to help us delve a little deeper into this topic, brought to you by ACINO PHARMA, is sleep disorder opinion leader, Dr. Alison Bentley.
Morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I do have a wry smile on my face because in TV land, breakfast TV land, there isn't a huge amount of sleep going around. So we often get to see the repercussions of this. So I know there is a physical layer and there is a mental layer. What is going on in our bodies when we don't get enough sleep, and why do we need the sleep? Why is it so essential?
Well, I'm going to turn that around and go like why we need the sleep, and then the
Let's start with the positive and then,
So, I mean, you laid it out very well, and the fact is there are a lot of functions that occur during sleep. So often we think that sleep is just an out period where we kind of rest, you know, that the brain is resting, etc. But the brain is actually more active when we're asleep because there's so much stuff that needs to be done when we're not busy. You know, there's a lot of kind of marketing that goes, you can sleep when you're dead, you know, and you don't need to sleep, and like the daytime.
The notion of masculinity at the moment.
Well, yes, and work-wise, you know, like you can get by on 4 hours of sleep, come on, we need to be more functional. Well, the important thing that if you do cut down on your sleep, the first thing that goes are executive functions, and that is being innovative, thinking laterally.
Critical thinking.
Kind of critical thinking, good communication skills, understanding consequences, risks, things like that. So many jobs now depend on that kind of thing, that if you don't sleep well, then you lose that, which means that productivity goes down.
Or you're forced, and often what happens in the context of our work is you're forced to elevate yourself constantly. So you've got this crazy sine wave of height crash, and that in itself, I would imagine, is very damaging. You mentioned 4 hours, which I hate to say it in our world is probably the average. What is enough? Is it a set thing?
It's not a set thing. So every book and Google will tell you that 7 to 8 hours is normal, right?
Okay.
But just like everything else in the body, we're not the same.
No, who's normal?
Nobody's the same. So 7 to 8 hours is actually the average. But there are plenty of people on either side. Kind of 5% of the population is going to sleep less than 7 to 8 hours routinely, and a couple are going to sleep more, so 9 or 10 hours. There's very few in the 9 to 10 hours group. But there's a genetic condition which is called a naturally short sleeper, often runs through families where people only need 4 to 5 hours of sleep. So it brings up this issue of what is enough sleep. Enough sleep is if you get the sleep that you get is enough to guarantee good daytime function.
Okay. Within the context of our sleep, you talk about this very mechanically, and things are happening. And one of the things that is happening involves melatonin. I hear this term used so much. It feels like there is a simple solution. If you're not sleeping, we just need to up the melatonin. So what does melatonin do in the system? How does it facilitate the action of sleep?
It's one of the biological forces of sleep. And I think this is important, that there is a biology to sleep. It's not just a psychological thing.
It's not an emotion.
It's not an emotion, no. There's a biology. So there's 2 biological forces. One is the longer you stay awake, the sleepier you get. I mean, that's fairly obvious. And the other one is melatonin. And usually the 2 combine and get us to fall asleep. So melatonin gets produced when the light goes in the evening, so what we call dim light.
Okay.
So when we have dim light, melatonin is produced naturally in everybody's head, in the brain, in the pineal gland. And as the melatonin goes up, the body temperature goes down.
Okay.
And that drop in body temperature is what makes us feel very sleepy. And when it comes up in the morning, that's your natural wake-up time.
Wow. Okay.
So it structures that body temperature thing, which makes us feel sleepy. But more than that, that body temperature, then everything else in the body that has a 24-hour rhythm, what we call a circadian rhythm, is then attached to that. So, for example, cortisol only comes up in the morning. It's high in the morning and it's low in the afternoon. At night, our blood pressure drops as well, which is good for our cardiovascular health. And that's why we say if you don't get a good sleep and your body blood pressure stays high during the night, that is poor cardiovascular risk.
Okay.
You know, pulse rate should be low at night. You should have a resting pulse rate at night. If it's high at night, there's something wrong. The gut is not active at night. That's why you don't feel hungry. So we feel hungry during the day because our gut is active.
Otherwise, we'd be waking up every 5 minutes.
We would. Yeah, I mean,
every
and it's
2 minutes in some of our cases. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. During the day, we can't go an hour and a half without feeling like we need something to eat. But at night, we can go for 8 hours and we're okay. It's really critical to get all of that kind of moving so that we have those 24-hour rhythms, which are very good for our health.
Just when you think that all of these wonderful degrees and your specialization has got the full picture, you meet another individual who's completely different. Everyone is completely different in our own life cycle. I'm assuming as we get older, just like everything else, melatonin is going to start to deplete like the rest of the things that keep us going. Is there a stage where that happens dramatically, and how do we counter that?
Okay, so there is, it's around 55, sometimes a little bit earlier in women, if they go through menopause earlier. So menopause often causes a dramatic drop in melatonin. And so it decreases from about the age of 15. I mean, that's the best. You're all over the hill.
That's life. Yeah, sure, that's okay.
Every adult watching this is over the hill as far as melatonin's concerned. But around 55, it gets lower, too low. And about 70, it's pretty much gone. So there's very little melatonin.
Okay.
But having said that, there are lots of 80-year-olds who sleep just fine without melatonin. But there seem to be some people who are more dependent on the melatonin than others to get their good sleep. And those are the ones that are going to be the most compromised when the melatonin kind of drops off.
They've got other parts of the brain that are too stimulated or too, whatever that counterbalance is.
Exactly. So they need that. Now, you can stimulate melatonin by having a really good light-dark cycle.
Okay.
So we have a confusion here now because screens
blue light,
and blue light, and we're holding, devices very close to our eyes. What we do is we stop the dim light. Melatonin only starts to be produced once you've switched that screen off. And so your bedtime is delayed by an hour and a half.
Okay.
And so giving yourself a good hour before you go to sleep with no screens, as little light as possible, not pitch dark. You don't have to sit in the pitch dark for an hour, but just dim the lights. Don't be exposed to light that's very close to your eyes.
Okay.
But then at the end of that, if we kind of get all of that done and we still have difficulty sleeping, then we can supplement melatonin.
Medicate, yeah.
Yeah, medicate. I mean, there are different types. You can have a fast release, which is very quick and goes very quickly, or a prolonged release, which gets released over time during the night, which appears to be more like the natural kind of melatonin that we produce anyway.
And it's amazing how once the body has that switch flicked, and as you've explained it, fundamental changes are happening through your body while you are sleeping. And we just don't see it in that context.
And I don't think we know enough about it yet, even. I think we're very limited. Obviously, if somebody's sleeping, you can watch them sleeping, and that's fascinating. Like, what is going on? Do you know what I mean? There's not much you can do while they're asleep to kind of figure out what's actually happening.
I need a nap. This has just processed too much in my brain. I need a defrag. I need a bit of sleep just to let my brain let go of some of those memories. Thank you so much for bringing it down to a level that I can understand it. And it really is fundamental. So keep doing the good work that you're doing, helping people get some sleep. I think that's what the world needs now. It's just a little bit of rest, time to process, defrag, and re-energize. And it is so important to remember the importance of sleep. Hopefully we've underpinned that today. And then to promote those good sleep habits for your overall health and well-being. And while natural measures such as exercise, light exposure, reducing that screen time, a big one in my family, definitely can help, the melatonin production, replacement therapy might be the right fit for you, for certain individuals with that deficiency. And for more information, please visit sleepless.co.za for all the information that will empower you. Now go take a nap.